So, in this video, we'll discuss the question number 2, define contingent interest, explain it with illustrations and the exceptions, also the legal effects that results from contingent interest, and as such contingent interest is provided under section 21 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882. So, in brief, transfer of property as contingent to take effect on the happening of a specified uncertain event, and if the event shall not happen, and that is otherwise called contingent interest. And this contingent interest, as we found under section 21 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882, as it says, where on transfer of property an interest therein is created in favor of a person to take effect only on happening of a specified uncertain event, or if a specified uncertain event shall not happen, such person thereby acquires a contingent interest. Such interest becomes vested in the former case, but on the happening of the event, in the latter, when the happening of the event becomes impossible, then it is called contingent interest as per the provisions of section 21 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882. And now we'll discuss those illustrations. So, where an interest is to take effect on the happening of an event which is certain to occur, it is a vested interest. But when it is to take effect upon the happening of a contingency, it is a contingent interest. In other words, if the owner of a future interest has the present capacity of taking possession whenever it becomes vacant, then he has a vested interest. If he has not such present capacity, he has a contingent interest. In other words, a future interest is said to be contingent when, in addition to the vacancy of possession, some contingency must happen before the person is qualified to take possession. And the very illustrations that we found, X property is transferred to D in case A, B, and C shall all die under the age of 18. D has a contingent interest in the property until A, B, and C all die under the age of 18. And in regards to that, we will discuss another illustration. So, the very second illustration is that an estate is transferred to A until he shall marry, and after that event to B. So B's interest is contingent until the condition is fulfilled by A's marriage. So these two illustrations that we found are important in connection to contingent interest, as we found under section 21 of the Transfer of Property Act. And now, if we'll discuss those exceptions as we found under here, that income arising from such interest and income to be applied for his benefit, and these exceptions as we found, it is as the section lays down, as under section 21 of the Transfer of Property Act, that an interest cannot be said to be contingent merely from the fact that the person becomes entitled to the interest upon attaining a particular age, when at the same time the income arising from such interest is given to him absolutely till he reaches that age. And the second one, the income or so much thereof as may be necessary is directed to be applied for his benefit. And in that connection, we have to discuss one important illustration, and that illustration is transferred to B 500 rupees when he shall attain the age of 18, and directs that a certain sum out of another fund shall be applied for his maintenance until he arrives at that age. So this interest is contingent, but with these exceptions that we have just discussed, as one is income arising from such interest, which is contingent interest, and also the income to be applied for the benefit of the transferee. And besides that, we'll go to the very effect of contingent interest. And as such, the very effects, we found there are four numbers of effects that in short we'll discuss. One is the interest defeated by the death of the transferee, and the second one, the transfer is not complete, and the third one, it does not confirm better title. So the fourth effect that we have to discuss cannot be attachable under section 60 of the Civil Procedure Code. So in detail, we will discuss the very effects of contingent interest. The first one is that when an interest is contingent, the transfer is not complete. And the second effect, a contingent interest is defeated by the death of the transferee before he obtains possession. And the third legal effect that we found in contingent interest is that although contingent interest is transferable, but the purchaser acquires only a contingent interest, a person cannot confer a better title than he himself has. And the fourth or the last legal effect that we found under contingent interest as provided under section 21 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882, a contingent interest cannot be made subject of forced sale in attachment proceedings under Section 60 of the Civil Procedure Code. And now we'll refer certain important leading cases that we found in relation to contingent interest, such as the first most English leading case, and that also one of the most important leading case, and that is Lake versus Robinson. And the second case that we found an Indian leading case relating to Section 21 is Nirmal Bala Sarkar versus Commissioner of Income Tax, a case of 1968 decided by the Calcutta High Court. Also, another important leading case relating to Section 21, we found Muthia versus the Control of Estate Duty Madras, and it was a case of 1986 decided by our Supreme Court. And the fourth important leading case relating to Section 21 is Usha Swarao versus Vishweswariya, a case of 1996 decided by the Supreme Court, and it also relates to contingent interest as provided under Section 21. And the fifth one, or the fifth important leading case that we have selected for reference only, and that is P.K. Mohan Ram versus B.N. Anantachari, and it was a case of 2010 decided by Supreme Court. And so all these five important leading cases relating to Section 21 of Transfer of Property Act relates to contingent interest as provided under Section 21, and all these important cases only we have made for reference purpose while answering this particular question, which asks define contingent interest, explain it with illustrations and the exception. So, in regards to that, as per the provisions of Section 21 in relation to contingent interest, we have just discussed and explained the very provision in relation to contingent interest in the property transfer by the transferor in favor of the transferee, and in relation to that we have discussed two important illustrations and also the exceptions relating to income and for the benefit of the transferee, and also one important illustration relating to that particular exception. So also all the four legal effects of contingent interest as such we found under the provisions of Section 21, which completely relates to this particular question. So this answer with reference to these five important leading cases would be the appropriate and exact answer to be answered by the examinee. And as such, we have completed question number 2, and in our upcoming video we will go to question number 3 that we have selected, and that is also relating to vested interest and contingent interest. And the question is that make a distinction between a vested interest and a contingent interest, and that particular answer will deal on our upcoming video. So question number 4, which asks that discuss contingent remainder with reference to a prior interest followed by a subsequent contingent interest in our upcoming video.